In today's competitive marketplace, businesses of all sizes dedicate significant time and financial resources to promote their offerings. Yet, the journey from sale to satisfaction is fraught with complexities. From acknowledgements to shipping confirmations and receipts, each step demands meticulous attention. In our bustling economy, these transactions multiply exponentially, involving myriad vendors, customers, and file formats. Complicating matters further, each transaction is managed uniquely across various ERP systems. This underscores the critical need for a cutting edge digital framework capable of seamlessly automating every stage of the fulfillment process, ensuring every sales order is promptly and accurately fulfilled. The Teqtron team presents an all inclusive solution designed to revolutionize transaction management. Our integrated platform not only standardizes data exchange between vendors and customers, but also offers error detection, access management, and actionable analytics. Comprising of three key elements: an integration system leveraging Boomi as the middleware, a robust validation engine, and a user friendly interface, the solution supports various file formats and transaction sets. Seamlessly integrated with Oracle EBS and SAP ERP, the system is scalable to accommodate any transaction set within the order fulfillment cycle, empowering businesses to make informed decisions and enhance operational efficiency. Let's dive a little deeper to understand the elements of these components. For inbound transactions, where vendors receive information, customers transmit sales order data via a data transport layer such as an SFTP server. Conversely, for outbound transactions, customers retrieve outbound files from the same layer. Our integration design architecture consists primarily of four blocks: the data transport layer, the middleware block, the validation engine, and the ERP system. Vendors deposit inbound files into the data transport layer in various file formats. While our current setup utilizes SFTP server for file transfer, our design easily adapts to other supported protocols like HTTPS, AS2, or blockchain. Upon depositing files into the SFTP server, a scheduled Boomi process retrieves these inbound transaction files. Within the Boomi block, the received file undergoes transformations aligned with the trading partner's specifications. Subsequently, Boomi forwards this transformed information to the ERP system. Once in the ERP system, the data undergoes processing against predefined facts or conditions in the validation engine. One example of such a condition is where the vendor wants to reject 860 change order requests for orders that are ready for shipping. Here, all 860 change order requests are processed against this validation condition, and only the transactions which pass this validation are processed further by the ERP. This validation engine is also configurable to exclude or include a customer for a specific rule and to add rules which pertain to certain transaction sets. These rules, which are a part of the solution's validation engine, come with a user interface where conditions can be configured based on business requirements. Transactions meeting these criteria are further processed by scheduled programs using ERP system provided APIs. For outbound transactions, which mirror the inverse of inbound processes, scheduled ERP programs diligently compile pertinent data from the ERP master tables. This meticulously curated information is then made available for retrieval by the integration middleware Boomi. Within the middleware, this data undergoes a meticulous transformation and validation process, ensuring alignment with the desired output file format as expected via value trading partners. Once prepared, the outbound file seamlessly traverses the data transport layer, promptly reaching its destination with precision and efficiency. The UI component, developed harnessing the power of Next.js and Spring Boot, has been designed keeping in mind the nuances which arise with the management of large and bulk incoming and outgoing data. It has been developed to provide a user-friendly view of the transaction information and leverages server-side rendering and proxy APIs in Next.js for fast and secure access to the data. Spring Boot, on the other hand, bolsters enterprise-level scalability for the application. Our team has worked extensively to devise an identity and access management system that provides vendors with the ability to control access to the transaction information at a very granular level. Within our comprehensive UI design, vendors are provided with a range of features in the application, including an identity and access management system that governs user access levels, dictating who can view, edit, or approve changes to sales order data. The UI shows a visually intuitive tabular representation of various transaction sets featuring editable fields for correcting errored data, which can then be seamlessly submitted to the ERP system for reprocessing. Nested expandable tables showcasing item information with customizable column selection options available to users at both the header and item levels consolidates all information in one place. Finally, the advanced search filter enables users to refine table data based on parameters such as time range, customers, process statuses, and unique identifiers like sales order numbers and file names. Following this introduction to Teqtron's B2B automation solution, let's move on to a short walkthrough of the solution for a cycle of 850, which is purchase order. This is an inbound transaction. And for this walkthrough, our target ERP system is SAP, the integration middleware is Boomi, and the data transport layer is the SFTP server. Beginning with the introduction to our identity and access management module, the module has three types of permissions. The view permissions determine which users on the vendor side can view the transaction information for any of the transaction sets. The edit permissions determine if a user on the vendor side can make edits to the transaction data for any of the transaction sets. The edit permission can be controlled based on the transaction set, the customers, and the transaction set fields that the vendor admin wants to allow the vendor user to update. And finally, the submit permissions, which determine if a user on the vendor side can approve or submit the updates made to any of the transaction sets data for reprocessing.
Next few screens are the four formats of 850 files which a vendor can receive from their customers. The customer purchase order numbers for each of these four files, as highlighted on the screen, act as identifiers for the respective transactions. All the four files have been placed in the SFTP server, which is the first block in our architecture, and are ready to be picked by the Boomi integration process. Boomi, which is the middleware in the current version of the B2B solution, has an integration process scheduled to execute at fixed intervals. I'm going to run the flow manually for this run-through. The process will pick any new files forwarded by customers to the SFTP server. Once inside the ERP system, this new data is posted to an API configured with the validation engine, which validates it against the rules configured in the system. We will soon see that the process is successfully executed. And here we can see the four input files. These are the four files that are finally inserted into the ERP instance. Now, we have logged into the user interface as a user with edit permissions for 850 transaction set. Here we can see the tabular representation of all the 850 data. Let's apply the filter to only display values for 4 customers who shared their inbound file for this run-through. Once the filter is successfully implemented, we will see that the table is now showing the 4 purchase orders identifiable by their purchase order numbers coming from the 4 input files. At this point, these records have already been validated by the validation engine and have passed all the validations. We can see that the process status of all these 4 transactions is N, denoting a new record that hasn't been processed within the ERP system. We can expand every row to display the item elements associated with the purchase order. The user interface also has a column selection feature at both the header and item level for users to choose which fields they want to display on the table at any point of time. The next step is the execution of a scheduled program within the ERP instance that validates all the fields of a purchase order against the master table values and an ERP system provided API that creates the sales orders from the purchase orders. For this run through, this program is triggered manually in the background. Next, we check the user interface to view the successfully processed and the errored out transactions. We have set the filter with the 4 customers and the batch ID range to view the tabular data. We can see that 3 out of the 4 purchase orders are now successful sales orders. We can see the order numbers associated with the 3 successful customer purchase order numbers. The process status of these successfully processed records has changed to S, indicating a successful transaction. We have one purchase order that failed to process and we can see the error message on the screen. The purchase order fails due to a misspelled ship to org and sold to org ID. As previously stated, this user has the permissions to edit fields of the errored out 850 transactions and therefore, scrolling to the right, we will see that the edit button has appeared. On clicking the edit button, we see that the permitted columns have now become editable. We will now update the values and save the transaction. After saving the transactions, the process status has changed to C, indicating a changed record. Typically, another user group will be approving these changes, but for the sake of this demonstration, this user has also been given the Submit Changes permission for this transaction set. And therefore, we can see that the Submit option has now appeared in the drop-down as well. On selecting the Submit option and submitting the changes, we will notice that the process status of this transaction has now changed to I, indicating that it is now ready to be processed again by the validation engine and the ERP system. Here, I indicates an initial status. In the background, We reprocess this transaction data through the same cycle of Boomi, the validation engine, and the ERP system scheduled program. We can now see the 4 purchase orders as successful sales order in the ERP system. Here's the purchase order number and the corresponding sales order number for all the 4 files. We can also see the same values reflected in the user interface. And the process status of all these 4 transactions has now been changed to S, indicating a successfully processed transaction. This concludes the walkthrough of the 850 transaction set using a B2B solution. Outbound transactions such as 856, 855, and 870 are exactly the opposite of the inbound transaction in terms of the process flow.
So, what makes Teqtron's solution an excellent choice for order fulfillment and management? Let's review the key aspects of the solution. The design for the B2B solution can be conflated with any other available middleware and hence any file format supported by the middleware. This gives customers the flexibility to record and communicate their transaction information. The solution design also has the scope to be integrated with either a third party application using HTTPS or any other file transfer protocol that is supported by the middleware. This gives customers multiple channels through which transaction data can be exchanged with the vendor. As mentioned before, our design has been successfully integrated with Oracle EBS and SAP ERP and can be very easily extended to any other ERP systems on the vendor side. With the user interface wrapper around the integration system and the features that were described before, users get a user-friendly single point of access for all the stages of a transaction. Based on the business need laid down before you, the need for a system that can streamline the different aspects of sales order fulfillment has been clearly established. Together, the integration system and the user application, Teqtron's digitally automated solution provides flexibility in terms of data exchange, simplicity in terms of information traceability, and control in terms of who has access to this data in context of viewing, editing, and approving changes, making this an indispensable resource to rationalize the time invested on the set of actions that follow the closing of any successful sales order. If you feel a more tailored one on one approach is warranted, we are very excited and very happy to build out a POC and corresponding guide for your scope of work. If that is something you would be interested in, please reach out to us.